All right, so in this lesson, we are going to be talking about product life cycle. So what exactly is a product life cycle? If we start by just looking at the words, it's obviously about a product, so a good, an item that is available for sale. And a life cycle, it's some sort of pattern that represents the life of a product. Why do they have consistent patterns? Well, it's all products' lives, their sales are driven by needs, wants, and demand changes. Okay, as we know from supply and demand. And what's been discovered is that most products over the course of their life follow a very, very similar pattern. And this is something that knowledge of can help us as business people and as marketers help see what's coming and plan and make the most of our products. So we're going to start by talking about what's called the traditional product life cycle. This is the product life cycle that the majority of products will follow. You'll notice on the left-hand side of the graph, the up and down axis, we're looking at sales. So how many items are being sold? And at the bottom on the horizontal axis is time. You'll notice it's not a specific amount of time. Okay, some products will go through the whole product life cycle in a few years. Some products will go through the whole product life cycle in multiple decades. Okay, it's not an exact science, but we see this general trend with most products. So let's get into it. We're going to start with our introduction phase, okay, which you'll see starts when there are 0 sales. So our introduction literally is about starting this product in the market. Okay, the key activity in this stage is what's called a product launch. Literally an event where you make your product known to customers and to the world, right? We're starting with 0 sales and we definitely want to be going up from there. So an example to look at is the upcoming product launch for the next Apple iPhone. So recently there's been some information and specs leaked about what that new iPhone 12 might look like. These are not official photos from Apple, but they're drawings based on those specs that have been released. So you can see for this particular product, there is excitement and there is interest before this launch even happens. Whereas other products that are brand new or don't have a well-known brand associated with them, nobody may know about them ahead of time. And so they have to make sure that launch event is going to make people know about them. Okay, so for price, generally in the introduction phase, when you're first putting a product out to market, our price is going to be the highest that it's ever going to be. This is because we've generally just come out of a phase where we're spending a lot of money. Okay, we've been developing the product, we've been designing, maybe doing research, we've been creating the machinery and paying the employees to start making the items to have them available for sale. And hopefully we've been doing advertising to make sure people know about our products. So we have a lot of money going out and therefore we're going to need a lot of money coming in. Also, if we've been able to kind of create a bit of a buzz about it, or it's like a new piece of technology, then people are likely going to be willing to pay more to get hands on it first. If we look at this graph here, you can see that when DVD players first came out, they were almost $900, whereas today you can buy them for $20. So when something is brand new, and all technology, if you look back in history, very expensive when it's first released. Okay. Your target market for your introduction. This is the one time that your target market is generally going to be a little bit different. Okay, you're trying very specifically to target a select group of people that we call early adopters. These are people with a very specific personality set that makes them very curious and wanting to be those first people to have a product, okay? These are the people that line up and sleep overnight for the new Apple products that come out or other products that come out, okay? So yes, they still fall under your normal target market that you're going after, but they're an even more specific group with this special psychological side to them that is really looking at being the very first one to be able to look at a product. For promotion, there's a variety of ways that you can do this, but one of the most common recent ones is offering products to celebrities or social influencers. Okay, offering free products is fairly inexpensive, but if you can get them in the hands of the right people and have them use them and have them talk about them or post photos of themselves using them, that's going to be some really incredible advertising for you. okay? Yes, you can pay a lot of money and do TV ads and whatnot, but when something is brand new and getting attention, having people that, especially celebrities and social influencers, that the everyday consumers trusts using something, that's going to get them excited. You can also look to people that are very well known within that specific market. So, for technology, going to those bloggers with huge followings, those reviewers, okay, and getting them that product ahead of time, and hoping that it's going to be a positive response. Okay, the place, obviously we need to make the product available to customers. Okay, some stores are not always willing to take on brand new products. And so often people or companies will look at doing consignment arrangements, which means the retailer will sell the product, but at no risk. You'll take it back if it doesn't sell. Okay. Also, you may choose to pay what's called a shelf allowance, which is paying extra to have your product placed in a very special place. So if you've ever walked around the grocery store, the products that are at the end, right by the cash registers, they pay a lot more because they're being featured. Okay. Also, the products that are, at eye level of the everyday consumer or in the kids' toy section at the eye level of children, those have what's called a shelf allowance for them. Okay, so what exactly is going on in the introduction? What are we focusing on as marketers specifically? Okay, we want to be targeting those early adopters. We want to make sure that the type of ads and the type of things that we're doing are appealing to that personality. Okay, we're doing lots of free sampling, getting it in the hands of celebrities, social influencers, bloggers, even consumers. Okay, trying to get it endorsed and getting it in a good position. So hopefully when that product becomes available for sale, people start trying it, people start loving it, and continue to buy it. The next phase that we hopefully move into is the growth phase. Okay, as you'll see, we have a few sales at this point that we've gotten through that introduction phase, but now our growth, our sales, they are increasing. Okay, so we're getting lots and lots of new customers. How do we do that? Well, we do that through advertising. Okay, we are now focusing on our full target market. Okay, but we are spending lots of money on promotion. Okay, hopefully there's some word of mouth going around, but we want to make sure that we are doing everything possible to keep people aware of what we are. This is going to be the time that we spend the most money on marketing, on advertising specifically, making sure that all avenues are being used and explored. Okay. This is the time when a product is going to succeed or fail. So even though our product life cycle shows some phases afterwards, at any point a product or a brand can completely fall off. Okay, generally in the growth stage of a new type of product, okay, this is where we are going to see lots of competitors enter the market. Okay, so when the first tablets were introduced, okay, the introduction came out, and then all of a sudden all sorts of brands had tablets available. Okay, some had different features. The RIM Research in Motion tablets really, really inexpensive compared to Apple. Okay, the lower prices, finding those ways to kind of be out there and having lots and lots of competitors. Okay, and through this growth stage is really when we're going to see which brands are going to make it in this market and which ones are going to fall off. Generally, especially with technology, there's only going to be a few brands that really stick around for the long haul and kind of get weeded out, and those companies are able to succeed. So a current example that is in the growth stage would be smart speakers. So smart technology, being able to use your voice to control all sorts of aspects of your home is definitely something, and the speakers themselves is in a steep growth phase. Okay, the last few holiday seasons, they were a really popular gift. There was a number of companies and brands that were creating them, more than is even featured here. Okay, but these are the four that I've put on here. Okay, so Amazon, Google, Apple, and Sonos. Okay, but as we see this growth phase happening, and as we see it, we start to see some leaders kind of emerging. So with the smart speakers especially, they need products that go with them. So people use smart speakers to maybe control their smart light bulbs. Okay, and we're seeing more and more switches and light bulbs when you read the description saying, they're not compatible with the Apple speaker. Okay, and so as these kind of distinctions happen with technology, we start to see some of them fall off. Sonos paired with Amazon, so they run Alexa through them. So really kind of that's taken a team. So really within the speaker world, we're kind of seeing these two leaders going on, the Google sphere and the Amazon sphere, which is seeming to be the most compatible. So that's kind of that competition and how that goes through the growth phase. Okay, price, as your product or your brand goes through a growth phase, okay, you have to be watching out what your competitors are doing. If competitors are coming in with the exact same product at a lower price, you're probably going to have to lower your price as well. This is the point where we kind of see those, that chance at the beginning to make lots of that money back going away. Okay, if you do have a feature that's, better than it, right? With tablet example that I gave, the Apple tablets were much more expensive than the RIM tablets, and the Apple ones still won out because they had different features that justified the price. But if it's the exact same product, this is where we're going to start seeing those prices coming down. Okay. As a marketer, what should you be focusing on during this stage? Place, you want to be expanding where your items are available for sale, making sure they're easy for customers as more people find out about them, making sure that you have the supply and the inventory there to be able to fill orders. There's nothing worse during the growth phase when people want your product and they can't get it because they'll find something else or they'll go to your competitor. Okay, as I mentioned, very, very heavy advertising. We are spending a lot of money. So even though our sales are going up, we're generally not making any profit because we're spending every cent that we have to advertise this product. Okay, hopefully, if we've made it through the growth stage, we're going to enter into the maturity phase. And you're going to notice that we're starting to flatten out in the maturity phase. We may even get completely horizontal on this. Okay, so while we are not gaining any new customers, it is important to note that our sales are still very high. Okay, we're still making a lot of sales. Okay, just how much sales we're making isn't growing anymore. Okay. So let's look at maturity. Okay, as I mentioned, those sales of the product, okay, they're not increasing as much anymore, but they are still quite high. Coke and Pepsi are very great examples of products that are in maturity phase, right? Products that have been around for a long time, they're still very popular, okay? They still have high sales, but they're not, increasing in sales. Barbie would be another example of this, okay? These brands that have been around for a really, really long time. Okay, at this stage, there's a variety of things that is going on. Okay, this is an opportunity, and we see lots of companies do it, to do what we call brand extensions. So slight variations on the brand to keep things new and fresh. That's going to get you your increase of sales. Okay, but the key at maturity is what we call brand reminder. We want to make sure that our customers don't forget about us, that they still are coming out and buying from us, so we keep those sales nice and high. They still trust us. Okay, that name still has that reputation, that brand reputation that we want. Okay, at this stage, we should be making very, very high profits. Okay, we have high sales. Okay, and we've paid back the costs of developing our product. We're not doing as much marketing anymore, and we should have those high profits. A lot of people will jokingly, slangly call it a cash cow at this point. We could just kind of milk it for all it's worth, get all that money out of it. Diligent companies are often going to be using these profits to fund new projects. Okay, either brand extensions or even completely new products within their brand to start a new product life cycle. But for that brand itself, okay? For place, again, you want to keep it available where your customers are buying it. So, looking around and seeing, what's selling where it is and making sure it's still available there. You may look at offering it in some new locations, see if that motivates some sales spikes and some increases, okay? And maybe taking it out of a few places that aren't doing as well, but you do still want it to be very much available. Some examples of, I mentioned Coke and Pepsi being in this stage. We see them every once in a while offer new flavors. Those are those kind of product extensions that we're looking at, staying relevant, staying in our minds. Okay, Doritos did this as well, with kind of like a game, a little activity to, remind you about them, get you to try them again and go, oh yeah, I forgot I love these, and, stay with them. Okay, what are marketers focusing on? Okay, your ad should be all about how you've been around for a long time. Those key things that make you important. A really good example of this was a Pepsi Generation ad that was aired in 2018 at the Super Bowl. That I'll just show you now.
This is the Pepsi that your father drank, and his father drank before he met your grandmother. This is the first Pepsi on the moon. What? No. Okay, fine. This might be the first Pepsi on Mars. This is the Pepsi for this model. And his mom. Hi, Cindy. Show him how it's done. This is the Pepsi that was right for Ray. Uh-huh. And your Uncle Drew, who is still breaking ankles. This is the Pepsi that's back from the future. And back for one last ride. This is the Pepsi that Brittany once popped. This one is for the king of pop. This is the Pepsi for those who are forever fun. This is the Pepsi for every generation.
So what's really great about that commercial, not only did it reference a lot of their past commercials, but, as you could see, the focus was really about, what we've been around for such a long time. Everybody loves us. This is why you should love us too. But this is also why we're still relevant to you. Okay. As we mentioned, there could be new products being launched, which is going to take some of the marketers' focus away, or new ways to tie in that product. And again, the main focus is just staying in our consumers' mind, making sure that they remember us and think of us. Okay. After the maturity stage, you'll see that there is a stage called the decline. The thing to note, the maturity stage can last a really long time if for some products like Coke and Pepsi, or it can be very, very short before it falls into a decline. Okay, but we say we're in the decline phase when we start to see our sales drop. So you'll notice sales are still fairly high. It's just that as time goes on, they're beginning to go down. And so this is kind of a phase where, some warning signs, some warning bells should be going off in the company's minds. Okay. Basically, they can't find new customers anymore. And even some of the ones that maybe they had before are starting to fall off. Okay. This can be reversed with some with a few marketing strategies, such as a price drop or a new ad campaign. So declines do not always last. They can be temporary, and we can see that graph head back up into the maturity phase if this phase is managed well. So some examples of declines, really, with a lot of technology, especially phones, we see really, really popular. They have a very short product life cycle, and as they start to decline, new people aren't buying them anymore. They throw out a new release or a new product to kind of make themselves relevant again. Okay. What are marketers focusing on in this phase? Possibly a new ad campaign. Okay. Or lowering prices, or redesigning the product, whichever strategy they have chosen. Sometimes it's a combination of both, but they really are kind of a specific strategies. So we looked at that redesigned product. Another really great example is the Diamond Shreddies, okay, from a few years ago now, but the link is there if you'd like to watch some of the ads for it. Basically, they didn't change the product at all. Shreddies have been around for a really, really long time, okay, but they started seeing that decline, and so they released this huge advertising campaign. These ads were everywhere, all different forms of media coming at you, where basically they were somewhat poking fun at themselves. They redesigned all of the packaging to say new Diamond Shreddies, as if it was a brand new product, which really it's the exact same product, but in the image it's been turned on its side. Okay, they were almost poking fun at themselves about how their product was so boring. Okay, but now it's exciting because it's a diamond. Okay, whether you like it or not, the reality is it worked. A huge surge in sales. Okay, everybody's saying they do taste different. They don't taste different. It got all over social media, people talking about it, and that's exactly what those marketers were looking at and making themselves relevant again and coming out of that decline phase. Okay, if you are able to utilize one of these strategies, whether it's a new ad campaign, whether it's adjusting the price, whether it's, tweaking the features that are offered, you may see, as the line is showing, that you're going to head back up into maturity. Okay, and that creates great. We head back to maturity. We head back to those marketing strategies. We keep an eye out for falling into a decline and do this again and again and again. However, there is a chance that at some point, that's not what happens. And instead, even with our best efforts, we see sales continuing to fall and continuing to fall until they are quite low. At this point, we are entering what is called a decision point. Okay, this is very much a time when a decision needs to be made about a product's future. Okay, and there really is two choices. Okay, if your brand still has equity or a value, okay, people still recognize the brand, we can decide to focus on other products in the brand. As I mentioned, hopefully when you're in maturity and you're making a profit, maybe we started offering some other products that are out there under the same brand name with that same business. And so, you know what, maybe we don't put our time and energy into this anymore. We kind of let this one die out and we're going to focus on this other one, which is hopefully heading into a maturity phase itself. Or you can choose to spend lots of money and lots of time to revive this product. Really, that's your point. You're at this crucial moment. You're either all in, guns blazing to get it back up, or you're going to kind of let it go. Okay. If you want to keep it alive, you're going to do some serious redesigning, repackaging, or reformulating. Okay. Completely changing, if it's a food, possibly the taste. Okay. If that's the reason people aren't going for it, or, for a full revamp, which would include redesigning the packaging and ad and message that you're trying to do to really almost appeal to a completely new target market. Okay, an example of this was Butterfingers a few years ago came out with their completely improved recipe. Okay, there is risk associated with this because any customers that are buying your product may not like the new one. Okay, but that's why this is done when sales are already low, when you're at that critical point where you almost have nothing to lose. So let's try to revive it and keep that brand equity going, and see if new customers will pick it up and give it a try. Or if you are not going to keep it alive and you're going to focus your energy somewhere else, you're basically going to likely reduce the price. You're going to sell off any of your remaining inventory, and you're just going to try to take in as much profit as you can before the product dies out. Okay, so an example of this was VCRs. Okay, the very last VCR was sold in 2016. You can't buy them new anymore. There's some used ones floating around. But the brand, Funai, is a Japanese brand, a Japanese company. And, when they decided to kind of let that one go, they refueled that into their American branch of their company, which is known as Philips, which, if you know it at all, is one of the leading brands now in smart light bulbs. Okay, so really kind of keeping that brand name, keeping that company, using that profits from one as it was dying out to develop a new product, which is very much in a growth phase now. So this is your traditional product life cycle. As I said, most products follow this life cycle, and knowing that as a marketer can make a really big difference for you in knowing what you should be doing in the different phases and what you can expect and be looking out for going forward. It is important to note, however, that there are a few specific products and niches and areas that do not follow this traditional life cycle. Okay. And so we're going to talk about that. These are what we call non-traditional product life cycles. There's three that we're going to focus on. The first one is a seasonal product. This is a product that is extremely popular for a specific period of time in a year. Okay, so seeing a decline you need to predict it with this. You need to know that it is going to decline and we should see an increase at the same time the next year. So your actions when you see a decline are going to be different. The key to seasonal products is timing and inventory management. You need to make sure you have enough products available when those customers want it, okay, and be ready for the busy season, but you don't have too much left over that you're going to have to store throughout the time when stores aren't going to want your product anymore. Okay. The obvious example for seasonal would be things that follow, a natural environment season. So here in Canada, winter products are going to be purchased, at those first signs of snow. All the stores say at the second there's the first snowfall, that's when everybody rushes in to get shovels and salts and snow blowers, etc. So you've got to make sure your products are there for it. Okay, the same with summer products or the different seasons out there. The other one has to do with specific events like holidays, okay? Likely you're not buying Easter chocolate or Valentine's Day candy or Canada Day hats at any other time of the year other than before those events happen. So just a totally different mindset when you know that your product falls into this category. Another non-traditional product life cycle is a fad. Okay, so as we know, a fad is a product that is extremely popular for a very short period of time. Okay, fads can be difficult because we're not always aware that our product is a fad. Okay, and you have the opportunity to make a lot of money with a fad because you're selling so many of them, but most fads actually lose money. Okay, and that's because they see this huge increase in sales, and so they spend all this money to ramp up production and make more, and then all of a sudden sales are gone and they have all this leftover product and they didn't bank any of that money. So the key with a fad, for example, if you're coming out with children's toys for Christmas time, kind of having an idea that that might be it, is predicting when that fall is going to happen and not overproducing for it. Okay. Some examples, fidget spinners, rainbow looms, and like I said, whatever that hot toy is each Christmas is generally a fad. And our last one is what we call a niche. Okay, niche products and services only attract very small specific target markets. Okay, so when you're looking at your target market, you're likely a niche when that target market is very small. There's a very small number of people that are going to be interested in your product. Okay, generally in niche markets, we see a very fast growth stage. Okay, you'll notice in this graph there's almost no introduction, right? We jump up right away. Okay, we don't jump up very high because there's only so many people, but we hit maturity and we stay there for a very, very long time. Okay, why? Well, niche products, like we mentioned, they're very specific to a certain group of people. So those people are usually very excited that this product now exists because it never has before. And so that's why they jump on it right away and they're going to stay nice and loyal to you. So that is really wonderful because it's very unlikely that you're going to have competitors come in on you. Because even though you see a really quick increase in sales, there's just not enough for two brands. And if you've already got them, they're likely not going to try to compete. So some examples of niche markets. There is a niche market for high-end luxury pet hotels. Okay, very, very small, specific group of people that are looking for this, but they do exist in the world. Another niche right now is, very, very specific eco-friendly products. Okay, this one is starting to become a little bit more mainstream, but not as much. Okay, and again, a lot of these people, they've been making their own for a long time, and they're excited that there's finally a company that's going to kind of represent them and represents their values. Okay, and then some are geographic locations. So these sweaters, for example, say Eels Lake. This is a very small lake, in mid to northern Ontario. Okay, likely only the people that have cottages on that lake is going to be interested in something like this. Okay, so products that are offered to very specific groups of people. So these are our product life cycles. As we said, most products fall into the traditional one. So understanding it is really, really important for the decisions that we're going to be making going forward in marketing, knowing where our product falls on that life cycle to help us make those decisions going forward.